Oh, boobies and butt
Baby stuff.
cheeks and penises and galore and silly words and randomness, because that's what the name of the game is here today, where it's random. That's the first time, Tannen, I think any show's ever started off with boobies and butt cheeks and penises. Making history.
Boobies and butt cheeks and penises. So with the last one, I don't know. I
I
would
don't
have
know.
thought that this was like I'm going to the picnic and I'm bringing, you know, because yeah, I just threw it all off.
Oh, man.
Pretty good.
It's the reset button, special
Sorry,
layback.
sorry, but hey,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
girlfriend's going to bed. She was just letting me know. So I had to take a second to do the, the good night rituals. Things have been great.
Oh, you said goodnight on
Yeah.
air. That's very sweet.
Getting all the things. Yes, it was. Getting all the things like rolling now with with this whole house situation. I have an internet provider now lined up. That's exciting.
Yes,
And we
congrats,
did
Tannen,
the whole
on the home purchase.
trans. Yeah, we did the whole. We had to go to City Hall today, and I was getting my dog groomed, and
At
I
City
tell the
Hall.
girl that's grooming my dog like, yeah, I'm not at City Hall, but yeah, I was getting my dog groomed. I was at the groomers, and I was like, yeah, I gotta go down to. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go down to City Hall. I guess it's the way that I said it. She's like, God, you made it sound like it was so important.
Hello, sir. I'd like to obtain a permit and get Mittens' nails trimmed in the process. I'm here. We need to class up
City
some.
Hall did dog grooming.
We need to get our act together because it's been since we've had a special guest, and tonight we got the guest of all guests, the man behind the logo, our fucking awesome badass logo you're looking at right here in the reset button. So many, this guy's done so much work for me over the years. Super talented artist, our friend Rob, Broken Optics, Optic. What
Hey,
are
what up?
you?
Gruntled.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just. It's been a very tumultuous time. In my existence as of late. But hanging in there,
I feel like
trying to do the best I can.
we all get each passing year is more and more like, here's the test. Let's test them some more. Push them to their limits. Can we break them this year?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. I'm right there with you on just no fucking luck, bad luck, fucking butch over here, man. 2025 has not been very on my end over here either, but that's not. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a pissy pants, and it just is what. That's why it's have you on and tanning on and get our minds off the shittiness of real life. Amen.
I mean, I think I earned a little bit of pissy, but I'm gonna observe that for a different time.
Oh, you've earned the whole
Um,
pot of piss, in my opinion.
yeah. I mean, shit needs to get done in the meantime. So it's like, well, instead of fucking just laying in it, and just waiting for the train to hit, it's like I might as well do what I can and then lay down and let the train hit.
For
So it's kind of like do the stuff beforehand.
before Dick Dastardly runs over with the train, please tell everyone where they can check your art out and stuff, and please try to get that name out there because this guy's done work for professional wrestlers on national TV, just all kinds of stuff. So where can they catch you, Rob?
Oh, they can get me on well, for now, Twitter, at Broken Optics. I'm also on Blue Sky at Broken Optics. Dot B Sky, whatever that stupid tagging thing they do. And I'm also on Instagram for now at Broken Optics Art, one word, over there, and I'm hopefully gonna have a website and kind of take a lot of things over there. Because I'm trying to just rebuild the business at this point. Because it's been a rough go, especially in this age of AI and all this crap, coming in just decimating jobs at this point. It's like I gotta change a lot of things. It's one of those things like, oh yeah, you're in your 40s. Here, completely rebuild your life from ground one again. It's like can I not do this every fucking decade? You know, give me a little bit of a break. You know, let me sit down. Let me have like a piece of chicken or something. Actually, I don't eat chicken. Fuck that.
You
But well, you know, you can't. Yeah, I completely dislike chicken. But it's like, you know, you want to sit down, you want to relax a little bit. You know, just have that little moment where you go, hey, you know, all right. And then the first thing you see online is, oh yeah, we're gonna add this uh, rapist to the fucking to the fucking Mount Rushmore. It's like, what? What the fuck are you doing? I can't
actually,
do this
I'm
shit.
actually
You know, like,
glad. I'm actually glad you said the one thing because shockingly, it's amazing, Tannen, that we have never brought this up at all. The topic of AI and our thoughts on it and where we're at with it, and just do we with it? What should it be used for? Is Tannen, what's your stance on AI? I'm so fucking sick of hearing about it. B, exactly what Rob said. It's taking away fucking honest work from good fucking people with talent. It scares me personally. My like future youth and shit. They're going to be. You think kids now? Jesus fucking Christ! Look, 15 years from
Oh,
now, Tannen.
they're already trying to use. I mean, you know, my girl's a freaking high school teacher, and every paper that gets turned in, she has to run it to make sure that they didn't use AI to write their fucking papers. And I'm gonna tell you, at first, it was like last year, like 80% at least of the papers that came in, they used AI. It's word for word, verbatim. Like, you know, like didn't even take the time. Like, you know, there were the kids that would get on Wikipedia and copy. At least
well,
they
the
took the time to
argument,
copy and paste.
well, the argument for that though is that kids have been doing that shit forever. Like even before
I know.
AI, you know, kids
Yeah.
were always just like, oh, I'm just gonna copy the thing from the book, or I'm
Right.
just gonna
Right.
copy the thing from this thing, or I'm gonna, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
there's always going to be a way for kids to kind of fuck off on the whole thing. And you know what? I get that. That's not the actual danger of AI. It's like, yeah, it's one of those
oh
things
yeah,
that
no,
has.
trust me. That's just the all I'm saying is that's just like one aspect of like my immediate life that I like, you know, like she'll come home and be like, God damn it, that's me, you know. But even back in the day, you know, like the handwritten shit, you had to still handwrite and copy that right out of the encyclopedia. You couldn't just like scan it.
I
You know,
will.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. People have been doing it for years, but you know, still the teacher could go back and be like, "You plagiarized this shit. Go back and write it your fucking self."
I will
You
correct
know, like
myself real quick though.
the real,
I'll kind of devil's advocate what the school thing, and not to, so I don't come off like a total curmudgeon, asshole. If I was a high school kid right now, I would totally use AI. I'll admit it. I would take shortcut with
yeah,
it. You
I
know.
know you would,
You
because
know
you
I
know,
would.
like we all would have attempted it. We all would have attempted it. There's no fucking way around that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I mean, it was back when, like, you know, like back when when I was in school in the olden days, it was considered cheating to have a calculator.
Yeah,
Like when I was in
and
when I was in like elementary school and like going into middle school, it was like, oh, you have a calculator. Like, no, we want to see you do, you know, all the long division and all this stuff. We want to see you do it. So you better put that down on the paper because you just, you know, plunking it into a calculator. That's cheating. We will fail you from this class, and you know, you end up having to repeat a year.
mhm,
You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
you know, like all teachers have to do is just be aware of it, be aware of what's going on, and grade accordingly. You know, and
yeah.
the stuff will even itself out. It's like when people started using Wikipedia at least with Wikipedia will at least have sources under all of the story.
Yeah.
But
A
you're
lot of people,
still like I have a friend. I had a friend, college classes. He would just copy and paste Wikipedia, and his professor would accept them. This is in the early 2000s, and like with no questions asked. And yeah, like it did point out the source, but he didn't dig up those sources himself. He just copied somebody else's work, and
Yeah.
it didn't catch on until so many other students were doing it that the teacher was like, "Wait a second, this is the same exact fucking paper that I got from wait." You know, like
I want to know
so
how many
yeah, like
papers it
I'm
took
just saying
until he
the
caught
legal
it.
system. Like there's a lot of shit. Like I've fucked around with AI just to see what stupid shit it would say. I had it write a script once for a sequel to fucking Shawshank Redemption, and it was the most ridiculously hilarious thing I think I've ever read. It's fucking terrible. However, though, the fact that it cranked out a script in like 30 seconds was also just like it just God. Um,
well, because
how do
it's
I think
also
this is
just
gonna
pulling from everyone else's script that it fed
Oh yeah,
into
or
it.
pull it from all yeah the script was like basically it was called The Search for Andy, and basically Andy had a son, illegitimate son that he didn't know about, so he had to go back with Red from Montenegro and like all this just bullshit. And somehow the warden though, because this is where the AI got confused, I think. And Jim Gordon, the warden, was like coming after Andy. Then like it's fucking hilarious shit. Um. So yeah, though, just something little like that that I had played with. It was just like, however, though, you know, I could see Hollywood writers using AI to just or our producers,
They already are.
quote unquote, writing using that shit. They definitely already are.
They've
There's
been
just no
doing it.
way.
Yeah.
There's no way that they're not. I mean, um, but it even comes down to like my brother-in-law is a
Correction,
career
not
graphic
I don't want to
designer.
say every director is doing it. You know what I mean?
There's some that are very pro. Like right now, there's some movies that are up for consideration. I think that one like Golden Globes or whatever. That like the Brutalist. The Brutalist has some AI shit in it. Yeah, and there are some of these movies that have already gotten out that have some of that shit in there. And me personally, I don't support them. If you're gonna do that, what you're doing is you're just stealing wages at that point.
Yeah,
When I
yeah,
look at like what the whole push for AI is to free people from wages. Just flat out.
and to
Especially
free
like
people from certain fields. I
well,
mean, as far as like like people like business owners having to go and then reach out and pay somebody else for either their create mainly like right now I feel like creativity is what's mainly being attacked by AI, and
well,
that's
what they're
why I
doing.
don't think there's like so much of a pushback from it. But yet, wait until like a few years from now when like surgeons are going to be losing their job because a fucking artificial intelligent robot can actually cut a person open safer and do a heart transplant.
That's where I was going to go
Well,
too. Was
Already
like,
working
how do
towards
we,
that.
how do we
well,
feel about the medical aspect of it, Rob? Like, what do you think? Do you think it's way safer? Because there's how many malpractice suits a year in this
no. Let me
country?
let me tell you something about medical like the medical applications of AI really have nothing to do with AI that people are being inundated with. There's a lot of AI different AI things. I don't know what the hell they call them. There's different branches of it to where it's like you have the generative stuff. That's the shit you're seeing every day. That's actually ruining everything right now.
Yeah.
The generative shit is garbage. It's just garbage in, garbage out, and it's mostly just recycled everyone else's work. The stuff that's done for medical things is that is where like there could be some innovation there, except they're already fucking that one up too. And I'll get to that in a sec. But the main thing is that like AI could be used for say you have 1,000 years of medical text and all these different things for different diseases, different things. You can find different things that maybe a human would miss, and then a human would have to go over that and look at it and get that. And it's kind of like to find like cures for some more robust diseases. It could be a good assistant in that by going through you know every medical text that's out there and trying to find what common links to certain things. Where they fuck it up is that they currently have a bill going, or I don't know if it's hit anything yet. I know it's not up for a vote yet, but for the FDA to approve AI as a practitioner to prescribe medications,
Yeah. Yikes.
that you don't want to
Oof.
do.
No.
You do because one, it requires people to feed their medical history into the AIs, which is already a big bad problem, especially when it violates HIPAA laws. Which you've already seen the violations because if you look at a lot of the generative AI, they'll have like people's medical records in that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like not only is it people's artwork, it's people's medical records, it's people's information in general, just everything they put out there, and
Dude,
everything.
um,
Yeah, it's all just fed
not,
into this thing.
not to cut you off. So last night, my girlfriend and I were just googling each other's names just for fun. I would say take a second and go ahead and do my name. But okay, so all she put in was Tannen Smith and Hagerstown, and it came up with this long thing. Said like my main job was an actor. That's true to an extent, but knew what plays I was in, knew all kinds of shit right there. AI wrote it. Google AI wrote it right then and there, and I was like, that's kind of fucking weird. Like, could it have gotten more detailed? Like, I mean, just in just other shit. Like, I was surprised it didn't go as far as to like list my fucking birthday.
Well, that stuff, like getting that stuff is probably the easiest. But I think the most messed up one would be, getting, because I mean, there's also like stuff from like criminal investigations and that shit. Like stuff that nobody would know, like pictures of like dead bodies and shit. Like all kinds of stuff, like evidence stuff. That has ended up in these AIs, like all kinds of really really grimy shit that people shouldn't have their an easy access to. And it's just like, oh yeah, people can just do that to just so they can make like make a funny picture on the internet, and some bullshit. It's just like, man, you guys are just ruining the fucking planet with this shit.
Right, like
There
it's
are
like,
ways
how does
to
that
go
even
about.
happen? Like,
There's
Jesus, like,
there's ways to go about doing things and not ruin the planet and ruin people's employment. But the whole goal, the stated goal of a lot of these people, it's the same as companies not wanting people to own anything anymore. It's you know the people are the commodity, and they're just selling you back to yourself. And their whole point of it is, if we do this, we can replace this whole segment of the population that we see useless. We're going to make them redundant, and let's get people back to the mines, pretty much.
yeah,
Like, because that's like we were talking, the only employment would be the hard labor, that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's your messed up dystopian future, kind of shit. We're not there yet, but we're at a point where you see a lot of these models that come up, and they're always like trying to tout it as like, oh, this is the latest and greatest thing. But you'll notice a lot of these things are a big idea that ultimately never fully performs to how they want to do it. They are getting better with it, but the point of it is that a lot of it is just a money grab right now, and it's a money grab at the sacrifice of creative people and everyone in general to take away from humanity, because they're looking to erase a whole segment of the population.
it's a
You
trend
know
kill,
that
basically. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, and so it's like, oh, if we do this, it's like we could just make all the money and not have to pay out royalties.
yeah.
Like I saw like on YouTube, like YouTube is a lot of AI slop now, and one of them was is a whole genre where it's people doing Motown music. And it's like I saw this thing because I get recommended music a lot, and of course I get recommended music from LA Noir, because that soundtrack is actually really
Well, now
good.
you're totally
Super
speaking
short
Tannen's
one.
language
Oh
now.
yeah,
I'll just
yeah,
here for the
I
next
fucking love
hour
it.
while you guys talk about LA Noir, because you hit his bat signal with that.
I mean, come on, ain't nobody here but his chickens. Great song. No, I'm not. It's possibly one of the best songs on that soundtrack. I love it. It's a good little banger. That guy's actually really awesome. But the main thing was that it started bringing up all this AI shit where it's songs that are supposed to sound like that period of time. And I'm like, I clicked on one of them, and I'm like, okay, they're making references. First off, they're using it as an excuse just to say the N word a lot, which is wonderful, great. You,
Yeah.
you fucking assholes. But then you got them making like references to fucking TikTok and shit, and it's like, dude, this is supposed to be a song from the 1930s that was lost. Like they have a whole backstory to it, and it's like
Jesus.
you're referencing modern stuff, and it's just an excuse to just say a bunch of weird racial shit, and it's just like, why is YouTube pushing this shit when I'm sitting there like, I'm like, I'm hitting like some obscure like like 19 30s big band stuff, just because hey, sometimes you just need that in your life. And it's just like, no, you know what you need? You need this fake version where this guy talks about Chipotle and how it gave him shit. And it's
God damn.
and it's like, what the like I fucking hate the algorithm where it's suggesting this stuff, and it's all meant to desensitize people and feed this slop to people
Just so everybody's
to get them.
just so everybody's Aunt Carrie can sit on the fucking couch and swipe and have a good chuckle at fucking. Oh, that's cute.
And it's always like psychotically racist and just really just absolute fucking trash. And they're feeding it to people, just desensitizing people to all of this stuff to where it's like, oh, what's the big deal? I want to make a picture of Garfield like sucking off Odie. It's like, yeah, that's all well and good, but like what you're doing is you're ruining people trying to make a fucking living, off of talents that they've honed for decades. Like I've worked for decades to be able to do what I could do, and having that completely taken away from me, and having that just cut off at the knees is incredibly insulting to me.
Another thing this does too, because you and I actually were in this thread together on Twitter like a month or two ago. This shit's exposed people for being fucking hypocrites. Surge from the former System of a Down front man, that bullshit AI music video he put out was fucking atrocious. That was awful.
Well, they're all NFT bros now. They're all about making the quick buck off of morons.
Is the Hawk Tuo girl
like
still on the run and hiding or whatever the fuck's going on?
I haven't seen anything about her in a while, so
I think she was on the run. I thought, she still does her stupid podcast.
No, she had some fucking crypto scam happen, like.
Yeah. She ran a pump and dump shitcoin,
and nobody could fucking find her.
That, but really? I thought she was still like even afterwards, still doing her Hog Club podcast or whatever.
Yes.
Like
she's probably just like
just ran away with the money.
She's probably just on.
As far as I know, that kind of stopped. I think I don't pay that much attention.
So she took the money and ran basically.
Like her entire career.
Yeah, what do you mean career? She had like a 3-month spot on the internet, and that was that.
She's doing better than us.
Yeah.
Hawk Tuo. Yeah, give me $1 million.
Whoever was stupid enough to buy her like Bitcoin, like just who the fuck would do that? Like
just because, because you give. Yeah.
I'm gonna buy that fucking Bitcoin, like what the fuck?
Now look, I have nothing against fucking sloppy blowjobs, but when that's your identity, I mean.
I'm not seeming spitting on dicks here. Okay? All I'm saying is that people, like there's all kinds of people spit on dicks. We're not buying their fucking Bitcoin, but this chick, people like invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into her.
Oh.
And they're like, what the fuck? And it's just like she's famous for spitting on dicks and not even doing it on camera. She just talked about it.
I want to timestamp that. Okay. All kinds of people famous for spitting on dicks, but they don't.
Yeah, but I think right now it's such old news because nobody really talks about it anymore. But nobody talks about the fact that our dear leader, the new president, literally just did that as he got into office. He did a pump and dump shitcoin on people.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw it. It like, yeah. It was just
him and his stupid fucking wife.
Yeah.
And they took their supporters for everything, yeah, and just completely threw them under the bus. And people wondering like, oh yeah, like it's gonna help us. It's gonna make America great again. What did it get us? What, ICE raids in elementary schools, where they're arresting Puerto Rican people who are actual American citizens.
I saw some video clip.
Going as far as arresting veterans, like
veterans who are absolutely citizens of this country.
Born here and everything. Like.
Meanwhile, we're pardoning these fucking dumb hick assholes who stormed the Capitol. I saw some video today on Instagram. Fucking guy and he's reuniting with his son, and he's like, "Come here, buddy. Oh my God, it's so good to see you." Oh, and the boy, literally, I'm not bullshitting you, has his arms limp at the sides. I could just read the kid's mind, like, nobody told you to storm the Capitol, but you fucking asshole. Where you been for 4 years? You could have been here with me, you fucking dick.
I think the only people that because I don't respect any of these people. I gotta tell you, it's an absolute fucking shit show that they bought into that cult of personality so much that they went and they did this shit. But the fact that there are people that got the pardon and actually refused it.
Right. Yeah.
I saw that one woman. I saw an interview with that one woman that was like, "No, like
Yeah,
I did something wrong."
Yeah, like those are people who actually realized and broke out of that mindset and realized that they really did something wrong and they want to actually atone for those crimes. Those people, I think, could be they'll be all right eventually.
Yeah.
They were complete assholes for doing what they did, and if they want to serve their time, let them. But for the most part, it's like what I'm seeing is a lot of the people they put out. Like one was one of the fucking Proud Boys guys, like the was former leader, but is now back in the role. He's running the Proud Boys again.
Tannen, on our Battlefront, I mentioned, is the guy from Mr. Show? Is he in jail still? That was fucking.
I think he got a pardon.
Did he?
He's
Yeah.
gonna be
I'm
out.
from Mr. Show.
We talked about playing Battle.
Mr. Show.
Jay. The flat top guy. He was like a.
Well, he always plays a guy. He always plays a guy named Jay, and he always ends up being a cop and stuff. Like he was a cop in the Sarasota.
Choo Choo, the herky jerky dancer. That fucking guy. If you know what I'm talking about.
I had no idea he was one of those.
Mm-hmm. It's nuts.
He was. Yeah, he was one of the people swinging at cops. Yeah. It's like fucking. I mean, there's a police. Like, I'm no fan of cops, but I don't think cops should be, beaten trying to keep people from rioting in the Capitol over a fucking wannabe dictator piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, there's a cop that was basically beaten so badly that permanent brain damage, like life is completely fucked for them. And I'm like, I'm not a big advocate for the cops.
I do
don't think people deserve that shit.
No, absolutely. It did give us that blessing, the meme of the one person falling from the window ledge who was trying to break in. If you know what I'm talking about, the slide whistle fall.
I've seen so many effects put on that one. Like so many little remixes of that asshole falling down. With the Mario death sound and
you had one job, you fucking moron. Just get in the building. You couldn't even do that. Let's talk about. Let's get off this depressing fucking state of affairs the country's in. Tannen, we played Battlefront the other day, but Rob, I know that you've been kind of talking in our group chat on Twitter about this Ultraman game that I have yet to really play at all. You said it's pretty good.
Yeah, I've had a weird history with Ultraman stuff because when I was a kid, it was the only thing I knew about it was the Super Nintendo game that was really fucking awful.
How dare you?
That game was fucking dog shit. But it turns out that there's 3 of those that I didn't discover until years later, and one of them is almost passable, and it's Ultra 7. So if you're looking for something to emulate, Ultra 7 is kind of alright. It's the same format, pretty much, but it's just better than that shit one that we got, because that one wasn't even based on an original Ultraman series. It was based on an Australian production.
You're talking about Future, right? That yes. Ultraman, yeah.
Ultraman Towards the Future was a show that was made in Australia. It was during like the dark time when they weren't really making a lot of Ultraman stuff in Japan, and they were like, oh, let's expand to see if we could do like an American audience or this kind of audience. So they did an Australian production, which is actually not a terrible show, but the game is absolutely dog shit.
I know in the game it's hilarious because every enemy has the same exact voice, and it's always brah, brah, like every time. It's terrible.
Yeah. They didn't try
Is the
like at
good
all.
one?
For
Is the
that
good one you're talking about like the little cute chibi sprite Ultraman?
fuck no, no,
No,
no, not at all. Even though
Ultra
they did
7.
make some cool ones. Yeah, Ultra Seven, which is uh, possibly one of my my more favorite series of the shows because Ultra Seven, how I became aware of it was through like on TNT when they would do Monster Vision,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
they would show episodes of Ultra Seven during that. It wasn't translated very well and it had really bad voiceover, um, just really bad dubbing. I just recall the dubbing being extra bad, but they would play Ultra Seven shows on that block. Like it was like, oh, we need to kill a half hour, so let's throw in an Ultra Seven show. And then it was like a couple years later, they um they started throwing little references to that Monster Vision Ultra Seven stuff in things like Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
And like Cartoon Planet, they'd be like little references to it. They'd show like a little clip because it was, it was your silly, guy fighting rubber suit monster stuff. It's fun.
What
But
wasn't there a
that was not
shitty
my
wasn't there a shitty fighting game for PS1 with like and there were different versions of Ultraman in it, like Taro or Taro, however you say it, Ultra 7. I know there was a game. Is it that or Dreamcast?
well there was the
Fighting Evolution.
fighting
Yes.
that yeah Fighting Evolution, yeah, that one. Like that series actually gets a lot better once you hit PS2. This is but the long preamble for this shit is just to lead you right to the PS2 stuff because that first one it wasn't that great, but it's in English, so it's like you can play it.
Yeah.
The other ones are not in English, but what they did is from Fighting Evolution 2, 3, and they made some PSP ones, but for the most part, I've just been playing the PS2 ones. Two is pretty good because they started really leaning into actually making it look like the production of the shows. So like it's a fighting game, but like you're fighting in a way where it looks like the
An
TV
episode.
show.
Yeah, episode playing it. Tannen, you ever get into like
Yeah,
Ultraman show or the games? We've never talked about Ultraman.
I never played any of the games. To be honest with you, I actually have a couple of them, I believe, but they're boxed up right now. Not for long, but um, the show when I was younger, I definitely watched it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've never been like a hardcore Ultraman.
I remember
yeah,
when
we
like
didn't have a ton. We didn't have a ton of it here. Like we had like out of all the shows that were here, like it was like while I've been alive, it was Ultra Seven on Monster Vision, and sometimes it would be on really early in the morning, like before school or something like that. Um, and then it was like Ultraman Tiga, where they made a really bad Americanized theme song to make it sound like because every song had to have that four kids
was
shitty theme
Tigo. I
song.
said Tigo. That's what it was. I was thinking of earlier. Thank you for the correction.
Yeah, well, Taro is one of them,
Oh,
but
it's both.
Taro,
There's a billion fucking Ultraman.
well, if you're going back, it's one of those things where because now they're actually a lot more accessible. A lot of these shows you can find them, a lot of them on YouTube. They're also like on Amazon Prime and all the other streaming services. I think some are even on Tubi, like the free stuff.
Yeah.
Um, there are a lot of series in there, but like I really like the Showa era stuff, which is all that stuff from like the 60s and 70s, where every time they would do a new show, they would do a severe overcorrection for like the audiences, because they'd be like, oh well, kids like this show, but the older kids and the older people that watch this, they've all tuned out. So let's make the next one more violent and a little more hardcore. And so they would make it a little more hardcore to go, wait, we're turning kids away. Okay, we got to get silly again. And it would just go back and forth like that.
Hilarious.
And I really love that, like that dichotomy of how like sometimes it would happen mid-series. Like if you look at Ultraman Ace, like they showed like a disemboweling of a monster in one of the early episodes. Like there's just a monster being like its skin being ripped off as it screams, and all this shit. I mean, it looks silly special effects wise now, but it was pretty horrific because you're just seeing this monster getting skinned while
Oh
screaming.
yeah, especially if you're like a 5-year-old kid. You know,
Oh,
it's the type of shit that
like,
traumatizes you.
yeah, it was like terrifying. But then you get towards like the end of the series and it's like, oh, silly snowman.
Well, that's like to compare it to like the Guyver. So like kids here in America, we had the silly movie with Mark Hamill and Dynamite as one of the fucking Zoonoids, but the anime is fucking badass. It's the original anime, not Bio Booster, but it's gory as fuck. Totally different.
Yeah, it's like there's some things that just don't really translate.
Yep.
Yeah, or like, but you'll see like with a lot of these shows.
Well, at least
they
we
will
did
have
get
these
Mark
small-
Hamill with
I
the
mean,
mustache as a detective in the American movie. There's that.
that's true. That's true. But it like my favorite thing about it is that like a lot of these shows would have really long production runs. It'd be like 30,
Jesus.
40,
Yeah.
50 episodes. For a lot of these smaller
Go
series.
at 10 years ago at the Dollar Malton, and I got like it was like a 4-disc Ultraman fucking set for like $8 on DVD, just at a random Dollar General, and there were so many goddamn fucking episodes. I never watched every episode. I never finished it ever. It's too much. It's too fucking
Well,
much.
if you want to see some like it is worth a watch through most of it, but it's one of those things where you can see the evolution
Yeah,
of like the suit. Like if it's that first series, you look at that first one because they intended for Ultraman to have a mouth that moves, so they made the face more of a pliable rubber, and you can see
that
it's
was
all
the one I had.
dented and
Yep.
puffed up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh, yeah, that only lasted for like 12 episodes, and then they realized this is way too goddamn creepy because they did like a thing where he's like laughing, and it's fucking disturbing. I was
Yeah.
like, this is supposed to be a hero to children. Um, but that's when they went for with a more rigid face and yeah, and like they would do all these little like things. So you'd see a lot of things with production, especially of like that kind of stuff. You'll see a lot of things with production that evolve over time with these shows, and that's what I really like about them, because you'll see them kind of like they're just figuring it out, and it's like as they go, and like they're always looking at like what the audience was seeing and what their feedback was, and they would make changes if they needed to, but like it's like why like a show like Ultraman Taro was so kid friendly for the most part, but it also they were like, oh, we're gonna do more folklore monsters, or we're gonna do more this kind of stuff, and they would try different things, and if it didn't work, they would follow it up with Ultraman Leo, where the guy's getting abused for half the series. Like the guy, like the whole thing with Ultraman Leo is Ultra Seven, um, gets his leg busted up, and he can't be Ultraman anymore. So he's very bitter about it, and he starts training this new guy who's Ultraman Leo. But he trains him by like hitting him with a car, just like spinning him on a rope and like hitting him with stuff, and just torturing the shit out of this dude to like toughen him up. It's like you're gonna be the defender of the world. You better know how to understand pain, and just like completely torturing the shit out of this dude. And it's just like it's such a tonal shift from like, oh, we need to make this monster go away, but we have to feed it alcohol and make it dance.
What was the
So
newest?
it'll leave.
What was like? Was it that Netflix movie? Would you say that's the newest Ultraman we've gotten?
That's the newest version. Well, the thing with that one was it wasn't even an Ultraman movie.
It was like a god. It was
Like what?
love letter, right, or something like.
Um, it was a guy basically made his pitch was, um, essentially like, yeah, kind of a love letter to the old Ultraman stuff, but it wasn't Ultraman. But then Netflix told them, we have the license to Ultraman, so if you want to use that, you can just make it an Ultraman movie, and they just changed a couple things, and there you go. Um, it wasn't bad, but it's one of those things where I think the newest one that just ended was Ultraman Arc, which they've been actually presenting for free on YouTube,
Oh, nice.
which is really cool of them to do. Like that, like I like that that Subaraya is doing a whole hell of a lot to make sure to get things out there in front of people. Like you see, like a lot of these companies, like Toho will sue anyone if you for any reason. You know, like you have like companies like New Japan that like if you post a screenshot, they'll delete your account.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, you'll have all this kind of shit. But then you have Subaraya, and they go, "Hey, you know what? Americans buy toys too. So
Yeah.
here's a bunch of shit for free." And it, they have multiple channels on YouTube where you can watch it any language you want. You know, if you want to watch Ultraman in fucking Hindi, you could.
I almost
It's an
have to
option.
now. I kind of have to see that now in Hindi.
Um,
Really,
but
really
like
stoned.
over the past couple years, it's been a really big time to really discover a lot of this stuff and seeing like there's so many shows and I got really into it and with that I'm like I need to find video games because I'm like I want to play some of this stuff and I found that there was a Monster Rancher game that is released in English. You can get it on Nintendo Switch, which is like you're raising the monsters from the Ultraman series,
Yeah, that's pretty
like
fucking cool.
Monster Rancher.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It's that old format, which is pretty cool. But like, for the most part, they didn't really bring out a lot of games here. Like, there was a couple phone games and a
Mm.
couple things. And I'm like, I don't bother with that shit.
Yeah,
But that's when it led me to the PlayStation 2 stuff. And I wish they would make more modern stuff because the most modern stuff you could find is in the game Gigabash.
mm-hmm.
In the
Yep.
game Gigabash, there's DLC for Godzilla, and another Godzilla monster pack, and then they did some Ultraman packs
Like the female
as well.
Ultraman and that they threw her in. What was her name?
I I haven't looked at it. There's too many. There's too many of these characters.
I'm definitely gonna try to get some Ultra 7 channel though. I need to check that out. You speak highly of it.
Well, I would definitely suggest the Fighting Evolution series because there's Fighting Evolution Rebirth, which is really great. But the problem is there's no subtitles or anything. It's all in Japanese, but it's one of those things where if people really want to, they could just
Yeah,
watch the show, which you can readily find it. Because it blatantly just goes, this is the episode, this is the thing that happens, and then fight, and you just slam the action figures together. I mean, it's a very simple format, but in fact, if you wanted spoilers how to beat some of the bosses, just watch the fucking show. It's like because it's very blatant. Like, hey, you're supposed to do this thing to make this thing happen, and it's like, oh, okay. So it's like if you watch the episodes, you can kind of figure it out. It's not a difficult game to get into, even if you can't understand anything because they don't do subtitles. There's no English patches, but it's not completely difficult to get into those games. But what I like about them is they try to weave some kind of a story, but they're mostly based off like each thing is based off of like some episode stuff and some things from multiple different series of like the older series, like from the original to Ultra 7, to Taro and like stuff like that. They would do that, but then they would tie it into stuff like more modern stuff like Mebius. Um, uh, Mebius was at the time sort of like them kind of going, this is our last thing that we're going to do, like this is going to be the thing that ties it all together. And they made this like one modern series where it was like, let's just reference everything and just get it, because they figured their budgets were so cut that they were like, we're probably going to be out of business at some point, so that they threw it all into there, and it turned out, well, Mebius was good, but they went and they tied it into the video games and stuff. There was also an arcade game. It was like Super Ultra Fight or whatever, where it was like you're playing as the monsters and stuff. Which they made a TV series of. They made a TV series based on the arcade game, and it had multiple parts. I have not touched any of that stuff yet. I don't know how. it's probably you can probably get it on MAME or some shit.
I'll tell you a good one we need to
I,
play on the channel one day, Tannen. We need to throw down some King of the Monsters too. That game's fucking awesome.
Oh man, yeah, that game is.
Second
badass.
one. The first one's okay.
oh, you cut out.
Tannen, what did you have your mitts on this week? What have you been playing?
Oh yeah, you
did cut out there for a second. Yeah, you cut out there for a second, but I did catch the last part. This week, you know what? I've been taking it a little easy. I did start playing, and it was just for fun. I mean, I'd seen previews for it and stuff, and you know, I like to click around games that have like narrative. I've been playing A Night in the Woods.
Okay.
It is an interesting little game.
Do tell.
You know, you're this anthropomorphic cat that lives in this other like town. You like drop out of college. It's like this weird coming of age story. God, what's that song? You remember that one song? It's called like Dragonaut or something. It was in that one
By Sleep
movie.
and Gummo.
Gummo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sleep.
Is that?
One of the coolest things was like yeah, it's in the game.
That's
like,
fucking
One
awesome.
of the first things you do in the beginning when you wake up in your bed and like your character, she's just like, should I play bass? And it's just like, yeah, go ahead. And it's that fucking song.
That's pretty wild.
But you know, you like follow it. Like there's like little mini games like that, but it does follow this like pretty interesting narrative. The characters are really interesting. I'm just enjoying it. I just decided, you know, I'm gonna kind of lay back a little bit. I was playing Indiana Jones there for a while.
That's what I've been meaning to.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, how's that been treating you? Because then we talked a little last.
It's
Play
good. I did get hung up on one of the puzzles, but got through it. But I wanted a game that, like, after I'd done that, like, solve this it's terrible, hard as shit puzzle. I was like, I'm gonna put this down for a little bit, and I just wanted to actually play something casual for once, not intense or, you know, like after Silent Hill, I just feel like I need to kind of chill for a minute. So,
Right.
Just been getting on this, and then I got back into Animal Crossing as well recently. I thought my island was gonna be on fire, and everybody was gonna, you know, be pissed at me, but now, it's Animal Crossing.
Well, I know you've been hardcore back in Animal Crossing because 2 nights ago we were trying to set up some cart, and the first thing you said when you got into like the voice call was, "This better be important." I just had to turn off fucking Animal Crossing.
Yeah. There's a certain fish I'm trying to get right now. I'm trying to complete my museum, goddammit. Yeah, that's really, it's really sort of about it. I downloaded Assassin's Creed 3 recently because it came with my PlayStation membership, the remake. I started playing that a little bit tonight. But one thing that I noticed, and first, like, I was like, was I just seeing Assassin's Creed 3 originally, like, through, like, rose-colored glasses as far as, like, the cutscenes went? Because even Lindsay was like, their faces look so fucking weird. And I'm like, yeah, like, it's just, you know, but I was like, this is, you know, 2009, 2010 kind of a deal, so maybe we shouldn't read into it, but this is supposed to be the remake, you know, like.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly where I've been.
Graphics comparison.
That's exactly where I've been this week playing Arkham City on the cutscenes.
Yeah. Like I would. Well, like the gameplay itself looks beautiful. You're running around Boston. They did textures and everything. But God, the cutscenes, yeah, they look like dead people talking to each other.
They do.
The
They're
cutscenes
terrible.
on PS3, the original one actually looks better, than this version, cutscene wise. So I can see past it, but as I'm playing it, I was like, you know, I've beaten Assassin's Creed 3. I just kind of picked it up. Really, I downloaded it because I never played any of the DLC for it. But I think I'd rather go back. I've never finished whatever that Syndicate. I never finished that one. I never even finished Black Flag.
You play
I think
Brotherhood?
I'm gonna move on and play. I did finish Brotherhood. Yeah, all the Ezio stuff. Like, yeah. I played the
See,
shit
I
out of
think
that.
3 was the one I was so burnt out because I literally 100%ed 2. I loved 2. I played it so fucking much. And 3, I was just burnt out. 4, I liked a lot, but after 4, I mean, or was pretty well done. But other than that, they're just. I mean, it's been said a million times that they're all the fucking same game anymore. So I think
Yeah.
the
Well,
turn a little bit as far as just like, we're maddening the
I
franchise now.
I really think that this new one coming out, like I've wanted like a Tensu stealth assassin game, a new one of those for so long. So I think I'm going back to like Feudal Japan and having it. And I watched some of the gameplay, and yeah, you're a fucking parkour ninja, but like there's different like free flow types now. Like you can like tuck and roll and go underneath something like very quickly and easily. Like it looks cool. I'm hoping it's as cool as it looks. But I don't know. I thought Syndicate was kind of cool though too, the way that they did a lot of their free flow combat in that one. But I never, I like rented it from a red box and never picked it up again.
So
So
on my
yeah,
end,
I just think I'm gonna.
I think you should join me, Tannen, this year. I've made myself kind of like how many can I beat this year, and I'm already at 3. So we talked about it last episode. I beat Yakuza 0. So this week, literally 2 or 3 hours ago, I polished off the fucking Arkham City PS4 version. Still a timeless fucking game. Great. My favorite in the whole series for me personally. But
It's
also,
like the fine rolling, man.
this week, I played a random fucking TurboGrafx game, Blazing Lasers, which was. So I felt accomplished after I beat it, but after I beat it, I look back like, man, that was one of the most generous fucking shmups I've ever played because it's just constant barrage of shields. So I don't know how anyone could. You ever beat that game, Rob? You like that game?
Which one?
Blazing Lasers or
Sorry,
TurboGrafx.
I barely played that game. It was one of those ones that I played back when it was new. But like, because my getting the TurboGrafx, like my whole experience with it was not very robust as most people. Um, well, most people that knew what it was at the time, well, all 12 of them. But
Yeah.
I played
More than
more
what we
of
do.
I played more of Salamander than anything else on that because it was a more arcade perfect version of it.
Right. Which is Life Force.
Yes, there was a Life Force in the U.S., which actually is different mechanically. Yeah, like Salamander, the way the power up system works is a little different. How they worked it out because it like will auto pick stuff for you.
Mm-hmm. Do you?
It was. I, I'm kind of in that. I don't care either way. I just wanted something that was more arcade perfect because the NES one was good, but it had its problems.
Right. There's some slowdown
which
going
was the slowdown and the way some of the things were handled, especially like when you're doing like that whole end part. It's like it's impossible to really play that thing without a 30 life code. I mean, come on.
on. Now, I will
When
say
you're doing
one
that
thing. About like TurboGrafx shmups, and I know if he disagrees, Jim's going to jump down my dick in the comments about this because I know how serious he takes the shmups. But I feel like TurboGrafx, as far as slowdown, very hardly ever with the shmups on that system does that occur. For in my experience,
it was a beefier system in that respect. So like with shoot 'em ups, it was better, but I never really got to play a lot of them. It was like that, and it was like Salamander and like the Parodius games they put out on it. I was like, all right, but for the most part, like I don't have that much of a history at like some folks. I mean, Jim is prolific on that shit, so it's just like I'm very much a novice when it comes to that shit because I mostly played my shoot 'em ups through arcades directly, or I played it on like NES, or like if it showed up years later on like compilations or something like that for the most part.
Jim and his copy of Musha, Hot Shot, Hot Boy Summer, fucking. I wish I had Musha Tannen.
Well, I never had a
game.
Genesis, so a lot of like my first Sega system was a Dreamcast, so a lot of that stuff that like all those classics that people like swear by, like your Musha and your Truxton and all that shit. It's like completely foreign to me, man, because I never had a Sega console, and I knew like one kid who had a Genesis, and he only had Sword of Vermilion, so
Oh
he never played
God,
it. He had
that
Sword of
poor
Vermilion-
fucking
he had-
kid.
Oh no,
Jeez.
he also had Toe Jam and Earl. We played that a little bit, and then we never touched it again. And that thing just sat there unused forever. But like for the most part, it was like that was my Genesis exposure when I was like a kid. It was like that, and yeah, it was mostly a Nintendo kid growing up. I had the NES, and then I had the Super Nintendo, and the shmups were kind of bad on that too.
I know, like
playing Gradius
years
3 on
ago.
there was
Years ago.
horrible.
Years ago, that was one of the first games I ever buried on a review was fucking Sword of Vermilion back in like 2015. My hate for that game goes so deep. And they throw it on every goddamn Genesis collection. Like, Jesus Christ. That and Super Thunderblade. Gotta have fucking shitty Super Thunderblade Tannen or it's on a Genesis collection. Piece of shit.
Space filler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things like I should be more into a lot of these retro things, but like there's a lot of stuff that totally passed me because it's like I mean before I had the NES I was like Commodore 64, getting weird British bootlegs of shit and fucking
Mosaic Spectrum.
no, I didn't have that. I didn't have that. It was one of those things where my dad was really into like he was really into computer stuff, and while we weren't exactly a wealthy family, it was one of those things where my dad would save forever, and he'd be like, "All right, we're gonna get like an IBM computer." It's like one that had like a monochrome screen, and you couldn't play anything on it, and it was like, "Oh,
It's like
good.
computer lab.
Well, what am I gonna
stuff.
do with this?" Yeah, it was like it was that, but like Commodore 64 was kind of a big deal. The TRS-80. We had the Atari, we had a lot of that kind of stuff, but it was like it was mostly like my dad was into tech stuff, and he would save forever to get this stuff, and we would get it, and half the time we wouldn't understand what the hell we were looking at. Like
It's-
looking at a TRS-80, I'm like, oh, you want to play Donkey Kong on it? Here's this magazine. Type in this code for the next 4 hours, and you'll be able to play Donkey Kong.
It's
But
like the shittiest version of Donkey Kong ever.
Back in the era where like you
It's-
couldn't load shit before your computer had a seizure on screen. Then your game's about to work. All this shit's going on.
Oh, I mean, yeah, this is back in the day when you had to buy magazines, and the magazines would have the code just printed in the magazine.
And I'm
So you
proud.
type in the
Yeah,
code,
I'm proud we come from these
and
days.
and then you save it to a cassette tape.
Days too, but like, and I'm sure
Uh,
all of our dads were the same. Thought they were on like the cutting edge of fucking tech with their million bootleg fucking floppy disk games. Chuck Yeager's Flight Simulator, fucking 3 fucking copies of goddamn fucking shitty Mega Man for Commodore. Fucking everybody's dad had 4 billion games. These old pirates.
I mean, there was a whole saga, the whole saga of me trying to play Doom, because I never had a computer that could run Doom. It was like at one point I had like a 286, and that thing was just not fucking running on it.
Doom was
you had
2X, and I was like, ugh, strafing, holding C. Oh my god.
I had never touched any of those other versions. It was mostly just the PC one, trying to like, beg and borrow, and people. Oh yeah, like we don't want this computer anymore. Oh, you like, oh, can I cannibalize that? Okay, cool. So it was my first real instance of actually learning how to like build computer stuff back
Yeah.
in the day. Was cobbling things from like junk parts and all kinds of shit just so I could play the shareware version of fucking Doom. And like it was like once I was able to, I'm running it at like 4 frames a second. Like it's just this chuggy thing, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing.
At least you had the whole fucking game, because what's even shittier, Tannen, about the 32X version of Doom, not only did they have the balls to charge full fucking price for the shitty 32X game, it wasn't even the whole game. There were tons of levels missing. It's fucking bullshit. Fuck you.
Really?
They cut out. Yeah, they cut out.
Dude, there's like 5 levels
I
missing
tried
in
to-
that fucking game.
What? Like, try the Super Nintendo version.
Oh god, that's fucking under the influence, Doom. You're trying to pass a fucking breathalyzer. That's what that experience is like. Just feel drunk. terrible.
That was a rental.
But yep,
cheap.
and I was just about to say, I
went
rented that motherfucker all the time as a kid, thinking I was awesome, running Doom on my SNES.
We probably went to the same books and things and took turns renting it.
We did, because there was only one. The one in across from yeah, across from South High.
Yeah, that's where I went. Yep, that's where I got it from.
It was probably just us trading off renting fucking Doom. That's what a lot of listeners don't know. Tate and I have been friends for 20 years, over 20 years, but we didn't actually know each other as children. We just never, we went to different elementary schools. We never crossed paths until like high school and shit. So like, we probably was just you and I renting that motherfucker back and forth for like 3 years straight.
A little 8-year-old us is like,
it's awesome.
Every time I would see it there, after you returned it, following weekend, I would pick it up again. That was why, eventually I did get my dad got a nicer NPC, or what they would consider that at the time. And I had a cousin that, I don't know, he was a computer engineer. But one day he came over to our house and just loaded all these games up on our computer. It was fucking badass. So I got to play the DOS version of Doom, and I never fucking touched Super Nintendo Doom again. Ever again. Like, that was that.
You know, even though I'm proud, we do come from like the trials and tribulations of this era, like Rob said, putting together junk parts or just trying to run a DOS version of Doom. I do appreciate now that, like, in our 40s and maybe even later, some of us won't say, but it's great that we can just sit on our Switch and play a fucking PC perfect version of Doom now if we want.
I'm still in my 40s, bud.
I didn't see you threw yourself on that. So where do you put yourself out there?
I said I'm old, but I'm not that old. Son of a bitch.
But the Switch version of Doom 1 and 2 are fucking great. I love having just that if I want to play Doom and pick it up and play it.
Dude, honestly, and I have the N64 controller for that.
At this point,
N64 runs really good too.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just ready for the convenience. It's like, just give me the goddamn thing. I don't want to sit there because people like get really nostalgic of like going through and like I know there's like people that do the collections of like all those old computers and shit, and I'm just like, no. I may have a little bit of nostalgia of the time that I had trying to do that because it was like an adventure in itself.
Yeah.
But I never want to go back to that period of time.
Well,
because I'm like.
Go ahead, sorry.
Because it was such a pain in the ass because you didn't have internet because I didn't touch internet till like, mid 90s or whatever, and I'm sitting there in like 1993, 1994 cobbling junk parts without any knowledge of what the fuck I was doing. Electric shocks and all kinds of bullshit, breaking this thing out here and there, doing all this stuff, just trying to Frankenstein shit together so I could run Doom at 4 frames a second. Fuck you. I'm gonna play the fucking the new version where I could download all the mods and all the add-on shit and not have to worry about any of that shit anymore. Give me that shit.
At least you're making good use of your time in that era, because like 9-year-old Travis was just fucking jerking off to Leisure Suit Larry in like 94. Seeking Leisure Suit Larry action in.
Well, my benefit was that I had no friends, so
that helps.
That was the trade-off. I didn't have any friends. Nobody liked me, so I mean, what else is new? But it's one of those things where it's just like it led me to amuse myself and the ingenuity of figuring out shit because. What the fuck else am I gonna do? It's not like anyone's inviting me to a party, or inviting me over their house. Oh, you want to come over and play video games? No, nobody did. So it was either that or just drink. And if I did go out, yeah, underage drinking and all that kind of shit. I don't suggest it, but everyone does it. But like that kind of misadventure. Yeah, I got into those here and there, but for the most part, I stayed home and I tinkered with shit, and like that's how I learned how to draw a lot of stuff digitally. Was like buying when the internet first was a thing. When eBay first came out, it was like one of my first things I bought was a really shitty broken graphics tablet that I fixed to start drawing shit in like a pirated copy of like really old Photoshop,
You still have that
I'm doing, like,
tablet
these
to this day? Somewhere?
No, that thing's long gone.
Yeah.
No, that thing crumbled to dust. It was like it was made with that 90s. The main part of that tablet was the whole top of it was like a clear plastic, but it was that 90s clear plastic that just turns yellow and just shattering into dust.
Looks like the inside of a
So
smoker's
yeah.
lung. Yeah. Tatum,
Yeah,
I heard you perk up a little bit when I said Leisure Suit Larry. Were you gonna say something? Do you have something horny to say over there?
Hear me?
Yeah, I heard you
Oh no,
percolating.
I was wondering how you did on the trivia question at the beginning of the game. You had to pass through to be able to even open up the fucking game.
There's
I don't know
where
if
there
you
was a
remember
will.
that, but
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
it's called Look It.
They would have. Oh well. People didn't have the.
It was
the
school.
ability
It
to
was
look it up unless-
it was schoolyard
they had
talk.
like-
It was
you
all
could-
schoolyard
you could
shit.
randomly look it up. I know I couldn't do it. That was the schoolyard. So some of them were like Grateful Dead questions and shit. My dad didn't care that I played the game, so I would have to go to him and be like, "Hey, like."
No, I meant schoolyard
you
shit
know,
as far as like
over-
a kid out the
Hey,
answer
Dad, I wanna-
because
I
his
wanna play
parents
the
had
game
it.
where I die of AIDS.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he didn't care that I played this fucking game, but like
Arthur
I had
Ashe Simulator.
some of the trivia questions, like I strictly remember one of them being a Grateful Dead question, and like 10-year-old me being like, I don't know how to fucking answer this shit. It was about like a specific show or something about Haight Ashbury. I go to my dad, and my dad wasn't even really that grown up in the '60s, but immediately knew the fucking answer. Like, it was definitely, some of them were questions that, like after a while, I learned how to memorize all the answers so I could just load into the game. But
If only we knew plumbers don't wear ties existed, we could have just jerked off to that.
hey, I just bought that game.
I know. You mentioned it a little bit last episode. Have you touched that at all since, or are you just totally money in the shitter?
Waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. You and me are gonna make the fucking night of this game.
Take your clothes off.
I watched the whole intro, and like I'm laughing the whole time, but she was laughing, but at the same time she's like, this is more of you and Travis.
Coming from the person who bought the Night
This is
Trap
amazing.
physical fucking re-release, that you bought it. I'm not at all.
I mean, like the Night Trap one, like I just wanted that for the sake of just having it. I mean, I wanted to play Night Trap so bad when I was a kid, and like I played it a little bit. So I had a friend, like a neighbor up the street. He had a Sega CD, and but we couldn't. Here's the thing, though, as kids, they were only a couple years younger than me. Again, like I'm like 8, they're 10, and we couldn't figure out exactly what the fuck we were doing in that game. So after failing so many times, we just stopped playing it. Like, and instead we played the weird FMV boxing game that was so broken,
Ugh.
but it was still fun. Like, something about like that game of
Raging Bull?
Like,
Is that what it's called?
So bad.
Literally
I
ripped
think
off
it
the
was
name.
Raging
No,
Bull,
it was
yeah.
Prize Fighter. The end. I don't know why I said
It's
Raging
something.
Bull.
I don't know. It was they like.
Well, that's like
regardless,
the
that
fucking
FMV boxing game.
the power game for Sega CD isn't even a game. It's sort of just an episode. The button commands don't do anything. You fuck up, the same thing happens. You know what I mean? At least shit like Time Gal and Dragon's Lair and shit like that for Sega CD actually fucking worked. Or actually playable.
Well,
I always wanted to play
yeah,
that
that was-
Scotty Pippen game as a kid, the Slam City shit. I always thought that looked cool. It's another broken fucking mess too.
Yeah,
Damn,
a lot
Scottie
of it,
Pippen. I haven't heard that in.
a lot of my Sega CD knowledge is once again very limited because I didn't have it. But it was one of those things where an old friend of mine who collected every single Sega CD thing in existence, also known on Twitter as Sega CD Universe.
Yeah.
Dude's
I
cool.
know that.
Everyone should follow him. He's a dude I worked with at GameStop years ago. He's a good dude, but it's one of those things where like most of my knowledge comes from that and the fact that Snatcher and Police Knots were was Police Knots on it? No, I think
Was
that
it?
was PlayStation.
Yeah, that was PS1, I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Because what I did was it was years later I emulated Snatcher and Police Knots, and I was doing it through RetroArch, so that's probably why I get a little confused. Because I remember one of them was PlayStation, but one of them was definitely Sega CD.
Yeah.
And it was Snatcher. Snatcher was the one.
Because
So it was
that's like
that,
the
SD
cult game to
Snatcher.
have if you're gonna collect for Sega CD. That's like the critically
That's
acclaimed.
about. It's like the only other exposure I really have to Sega CD was one seeing his collection, which was amazing. Um, I mean, I questioned why because all I really heard about the Sega CD was like, oh, this thing was terrible. It's like, well, you loved it, so it must have had something good on it. But so, I didn't go
just
until
to
years
say,
later. What's up?
Police Nuts, just to let you know, Police Nuts is PlayStation and Sega Saturn.
Yeah. I played the PlayStation version of it.
Gotcha.
Emulated.
So I lucked out as a
It's just the
kid,
hell
and
I
like
did.
just like with TurboGrafx, my aunt, her ex-husband at the time when I was a kid, he would always kind of get the newest quote fucking game system and shit. So they had literally had Corpse Killer for Sega CD, and I actually played that as a kid, and it actually scared me as a kid, which I'm embarrassed to say now because it's so fucking
That
cheap.
was on PlayStation. That was on PlayStation as well, right?
Yeah, the PlayStation one,
I'm pretty sure.
the director's cut one they put out because they released this 32x Sega CD version of it too, which is asinine to even say out loud. But the PS1 director's cut. But yeah, Corpse Killer was. But there is a shitty Sherlock Holmes game for Sega CD for some.
Oh god.
Do you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Tannen? My aunt had this game,
Yeah.
and I would fucking try to figure this bullshit out as a kid, and it's just awful. Awful fucking game. I don't know why it exists. What fucking kid or adult for that matter is, you know what? I want to play a video game. I want to be Sherlock Holmes. That sounds exciting. Fuck.
I just recently bought the recent past 3 Sherlock Holmes games because
Well.
they're awesome.
God bless you.
But no, that
How to do it, I
that Sega
guess.
CD game, no, is terrible. Yeah, it's funny too. Just also bring it back. Police Nuts was also on the 3DO. Interesting.
Huh.
That's a system. That's a system that, like, also I had a neighbor that had that. My sister would babysit these 2 kids, and I would go over to their house, and they had a 3DO. So I got a chance to actually sit and play it. They only had a couple of games for it, and like, of course, one of them was Gax, but I really feel like that's a system that's like. At one point when I was working at the pawn shop, we got one in, but I never was able to acquire that. Unfortunately, the guy came back and got it, but it had a hell of a collection with it.
It had 3DO does
They
have
brought
the
that
best.
in with, like,
It does have version of Road Rash. I will say. This is one thing it's got going for that.
I'd probably not argue that. I don't know. I like see on PS1 though. Like, I think my favorite Road Rash game is on PS1, and that's the.
I don't know if I played that one. I gotta check that out. Maybe we'll play it for the channel.
It's not actually called just Road Rash though. It's called Road Rash something else, like Road Rash Revenge or something. Hell of a soundtrack on it. It's got Sugar Ray. But they're like a hardcore band. Not fucking kidding you. Like, Sugar Ray's on that soundtrack, but they were a hardcore band before they molded into who they became.
That's just like
Yeah, there's a weird thing. There's a weird thing in the '90s where there's a lot of bands.
Goo Goo Dolls.
Like you
Same thing. If they were
Yeah,
like punk
yeah,
band.
the Goo Goo Dolls doing like I remember it was like Goo Goo Dolls doing a cover of Bitch. The classic Stone song, and it was and I'm like, it sounds like a completely different band. They had like a horn section,
Yeah.
you know, because everybody had a horn section in the late night because everyone was trying to do that. They were kind of do that weird proto ska thing
Mustard.
where they were kind of doing
Yeah.
yeah, like they were trying to be a little silly, and I'm like, these are the same people that did that big huge hit song that you couldn't get away from that Nicolas Cage "I'm an Angel" movie.
You know who? You know who did?
Oh god, yeah.
Michael.
Yeah,
No, that's John Travolta. Fuck. What? Angel.
No. Iris is the song he's thinking of. I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
the fuck
yeah, yeah.
this pull it from my memory. And Nicolas Cage is all in love with like Meg Ryan or some shit. Like a nerd.
It could,
He, like,
Yeah.
Is that the one with the lottery ticket?
but
Oh no.
down to earth.
but it's so crazy to see a lot of these bands that like by the time the 2000s hit, they turned in these completely different, super, uh, perfect pop acts that they just played them to the point where you wanted to just strangle people.
You know
But
who?
but then you hear them, but then you're like, oh, what was their old stuff like? And their old stuff was just like hardcore satanic ska, like
You know who dabbled in like that kind of shit? Who I wish actually did more of because they were actually really good at the hardcore punk style. Were the Beastie Boys? Their punk shit is fucking badass. For anyone that hasn't checked it out, so fucking
The
good.
cool thing about the Beastie Boys was that they didn't hide it. What they did is once they got that huge popularity and they were doing really well when they
Then they started
really
doing
started hitting big
jazz and
time.
shit. Yeah, they just threw it all out there.
Uh, they were like, hey, we're gonna put out a compilation where people can hear our Cookie Puss song.
Yeah, it's good shit.
And like all and what was it, Air Raid on Mojo and all that shit.
Mm.
Like that was fucking cool. It's like they weren't hiding from their past. They were just like, yeah, by the way, we used to just do just straight up, punk.
That's
I'm
like greatest
that,
hits on the
I
double
respect.
vinyl. They have a bunch of those punk songs on it, and all of them are fucking bangers. Every single one of them.
Yeah, I love it when a band doesn't shy away from that. But you see a lot of those, a lot of that for that late '90s era was that a lot of people saw that and went, oh, that's cool, and then completely ignored it and just went, oh, we're gonna hide the fact that we used to do you know, like this real underground shit. And you'll see like a lot of people like it's just like, no, we're this saccharine pop act that like your mom likes, and we'll play it in grocery stores, that kind of shit. And I'm like, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like
I
half these
when they're
like,
pumping gas every fucking time. I want them to hear our song at the gas pump. You know a band who actually evolved the opposite way was Pantera because they started out as a wannabe fucking wannabe big hair and shit, and then they just said fuck it, we'll just be fucking just dudes, cut our shirts and just go.
Well, going back here, so I'm looking at this. So that Sugar Ray album that had Fly on it, which I never fucking owned. But when I
So
got
sure.
that Road Rat game, I assumed it was a whole different album. No, so they recorded these like fucking like what is it listed as? New metal, funk metal. They recorded these tracks and then they just threw Fly on there. Fly became popular, but the rest of these like fast like metal ass tracks are on this fucking album. And I don't think anybody ever listened to the rest of the album ever.
well, most people just bought the single. Because I mean, back then it was the age of
Yeah.
That was the age of like
buying
go to the
buying the
wall
single.
and get the single for like two.
Yeah, you go to the wall, get the single for like $2.
They were too
And I'm looking
they were
at it,
too distracted by his perfect frosted
album,
tips to pay attention anyway. God, those
that album
frosted
wasn't
tips.
actually half bad. And like I even thought Fly was lame when it came out. I remember like kids in middle school just singing it and stuff, and I thought, I don't know, kind of
I mean,
sounded like a baby cry to me.
I'll take Sugar
that
Ray
was my big issue
Crazy
with.
Town any day. Fuck Crazy Town.
Oh God.
It's terrible.
We see like my issue with a lot of those bands. It's like me growing up, it was like
Just
like
empty.
when I was a kid, it was like your end stage punk, beginning of hardcore kind of stuff, So it's like, oh, like being like 8 years old, going like, oh, Black Flag, that's kind of cool. You didn't understand a fucking thing going on in it. Or like, oh, the Misfits, not understanding it's just like, oh, it sounded cool. Like oh, they're saying mean stuff. Ooh, it's awesome. But like when you're a little
Killed a
kid,
baby today.
yeah, but that, like for me, it was like a lot of the major stuff I was exposed to was like, okay, you had your hair metal. I wasn't too into that. Um, like Twisted Sister a little bit. Like they're
Yeah.
pretty good because it's like, yeah, they were the hair metal, but like they had an edge to them, where it's like, all right, they're doing something. Um, but then you had like The Cure and stuff like that, and that's the direction I went into because it was like, oh, perfect, I'm the mopey kid with no friends, so
The
I have a
It was a
soundtrack.
cool
Songs are-
direction.
their
I'm
songs
gonna
are
tell you that, it was
infinitely
a
more
cool direction.
timeless.
Yeah, I'm a mopey kid with no friends, so the Cure is perfect. And then, I mean, like I didn't get into like New Order or any like the more poppier stuff. I didn't get, but then again, like the Cure was pretty poppy in itself, but it wasn't like they were actually trying to be. It just kind of worked out that way. They had some songs that really hit, but like I'm sitting there, I'm like the Cure Pornography album is probably one of the greatest albums that have like ever been produced.
I'm actually shocked because I always
And
pegged you as like wearing a blazer and listening to Club Nouveau. I'm just kidding. I know
no,
you love the Cure.
no. No, well,
Club Nouveau has some good
like,
shit. I'll admit it. I don't care.
well, people like the Cure Wish album. It's like yeah, because that had their biggest hit on it. The whole Friday I'm in Love thing. Everybody was into that. But I'm like Disintegration and Pornography are the greatest albums of that era.
Which album had
Like
push
just
on it?
straight up shit.
Whatever
I don't know
album
offhand.
that has that song on it is my favorite because that's the album I can always listen to like all the way through with the Cure. That so when I went to the
Okay.
beach last vacation with my wife, my sister-in-law, and her boyfriend, and we had a B&B, and we had like on the deck roof, we had like a barbecue patio area, and I blasted the Cure song from The Crow. I never realized how fucking long that song's like 8 minutes long, dude. Because we're sitting there drinking beer. I'm like, this
Is
song's.
that what
I
you
went
called
inside.
me?
Yeah, I think I did. I
Didn't
went.
you
I went
call me the other day?
inside.
You guys are like, "Let's fucking
Dude,
song."
by the time that fucking song was done, I had gone in, I had seasoned my steaks, my grill was warm, so much shit, it was still going. Like,
Called me, had a short conversation.
and it's a good song. It's like, God damn, I just don't remember. And it's funny because in the Crow movie, they only play like 20 seconds of it. You know?
Push is on Head on the Door.
Okay, hell yeah, yeah,
The Head on the Door.
love that song.
Yeah, it's like talking like from that era. It's like that was just great shit. It was great dark shit, and I was like, I'm totally sold on this shit. Um, like that was like a big influence on a lot of shit. But it's like past that, it's like you had a lot of these bands at the time that like I don't know. There's a lot of things of the culture I didn't really connect to that a lot of people did. Um, so like when the '90s hit, it's like, oh, my brother works at a music paper, so he's getting all these albums early. Oh, here's Nirvana's Nevermind. I never heard of them before, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But like my favorite album that I got out of that box was the Tool Undertow. Because there's just a box of all these samples from like record companies. It was just like, oh yeah, here you go. Here's Tool's Undertow album and Nirvana Nevermind. Like really early on.
Always, like, the
Like
album
before
covers. Good, sorry.
it was like before things hit. And it was one of those things like getting the stuff early. I didn't get all the hype behind it. It was like because like the hype would come like a month later. If something was like a huge hit, it'd be the only thing you see. Like Nirvana's Nevermind was a huge, watershed moment for a lot of music at the time. But for me, it was just like, oh, this is a cool album
Yeah.
because I was not paying attention to MTV at the time, and when it hit, it was like you felt things were different. But beforehand, it was like, oh, this is neat, and then it's like, oh, that guy from Black Flag is on the Tool album.
What? And what the fuck? He's
I
doing
was
stand
more
up
excited by
comedy
that.
now? Why is he doing stand up comedy?
Henry Rollins?
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
he's doing stand-up comedy because Henry Rollins is badass.
No, I'm saying as a kid though, you're like, what? He's doing stand up comedy too? It's fucking cool.
Doing
I
sketch
mean,
shows.
Yeah, I mean, he had a whole spoken word thing in one of the songs on Undertow, and it was really fucking awesome because it was just like oh, like this is some shit.
I remember
I'm
riding
like, oh,
around. I remember back in the day, like riding around on mushrooms, listening to Jello Biafra's spoken word albums, and they're so good, so goddamn good, man.
it's the funniest thing is that you have Henry Rollins going into spoken word albums and all that kind of stuff, and this was after all of these stories of how he would bully Jello all the time. Like whenever they would see him like eating in a diner or something like that, they would just eat his food in front of him and just fuck with him like all the time, and like they were just absolute shithead bullies. back in the day, and
Oh, Henry
it's just
Rollins
funny.
was a fucking asshole. Like,
Oh
oh
yeah,
god, if you ever read his autobiography, like the one part that stands in my mind, like he just like there was this girl passed out, and he just randomly like pissed in her hair and then left.
yeah,
Like
he
that's
was
the
a fucking
fucking
shit.
story. like, like
But
Jesus Christ,
but it's
dude.
one of those things where like Henry was just notoriously an absolute bully dickhead. That as he got older, he at least realized that he was a piece of shit for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, he'll admit it.
So
He admits it in the book like 1,000 times. Like,
like that's what I like to see is like there's at least somewhat of a redemption arc. Like yeah, he's not perfect, but it's one of those things where it's like yeah, but he's not that guy anymore, and
yeah, yeah,
he knows what he was doing was wrong, and he's apologetic for it. So I'll give him the
yeah.
see like to me, I don't think that most people are irredeemable. You know, some people
Henry's one
are.
of them.
Henry was definitely one of them because he came from that really hardcore DC scene where a lot of people were just absolute pieces of shit to each other.
But there's
You know,
extent. There's that extent. Then there's like Gigi Allen. Fuck that. Fuck that asshole.
Oh God.
That's not redeemable, in my opinion.
oh yeah, there's a point where
There's a lot.
you got to draw the line somewhere. We're not in a world where it's like, oh, Chris Benoit was a really great wrestler, so he should be in the Hall of Fame. It's like, yeah, I think he disqualified himself when he killed his fucking family.
Right. Just like
Um,
Chris
I
Benoit's match.
there's a reason why Gigi Allen.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I was.
Good.
There's a reason why Gigi Allen isn't alive anymore, but Henry Rollins is.
You know what is here's a very
Like-
here's a very come to Jesus moment, fellas. Jello Biafra is 66 years old. Henry Rollins 63 years old. What the fuck? Jello Biafra's almost 70 years old. It's insane. This person Joe Freeman went to school with. He's always reminded me of Joe Freeman when he was younger. I don't know why. Just with a little longer hair.
God. Dude, that's fucking hilarious. Like I actually even just recently seeing Joe, like I can
with a hint of like
put that
Fat
together.
Mike. It's like Joe Freeman and Fat Mike had
Yeah.
sex, and there's Jello Biafra. What a visual that is to end the show on. It is, lads, it is 2:30 in the morning. For a thrown together show, we got it all in. Jesus Christ, we got music, we got our dad's pirate and fucking bootleg floppy disks, we got AI, we got our fearless fucking leader fucking in charge now, that asshole. We covered it all. Rob, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a fucking blast having you back.
Yeah, thanks, Rob, dude.
There was one thing I didn't cover, which was the fact that Titan Towers.
Yeah.
It got sold to a real estate firm that's going to turn it into apartments.
Whoa.
And
Oh.
I saw Brian Gerwitz say, if you have a chance to live every day for the rest of your life in the same exact space that Dancing Lord Tensai was conceived, you take it.
Or
I'm like, I just hope they clean every wall in there and like scrub everything
God.
so fucking pristine because there's probably ghosts in that fucking place.
Tan Towers is the old WWF headquarters for like Vincent McMahon and
I
all
know.
that shit. Okay. I didn't know if you
see,
did
No,
or
no,
not.
no, no. I know what it is.
You see, my memories of it are mostly driving by it when we were going up to Connecticut to see my father before he died.
It just looked like a financial
So,
loan building. Just a bunch of mirrors. That's all it really looked like.
Well, yeah, it's just like a building with just a big logo on it, and big flags on it.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where it was the thing I always saw when we were driving up to Connecticut to go see my father in the hospital and wait for hours and hours while every horrible thing happened. And just seeing that building.
Well, one more time, Tannen, my man. Where can I catch you?
Where can you catch me anymore? I'm barely on my Instagram.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm mostly with you here at the Reset Button.
Mostly with me.
Check us out.
That's
On
where you can catch him.
Yeah,
Oh, well, I mean, you don't want to
Google-
forget, you are a man of the stage as well.
yeah. Google me and you will learn through the AI.
Award
Yeah,
nominated.
the AI will tell you.
Yeah, the AI will tell you. Even the play company that I am in. Dynamic Playmakers, which they nobody's gonna hear this, but they do have a show coming up. I'm gonna help them work on their set on Thursday. It's called Cemetery Club, and it's about these three widowed women that get together, hang out, and then a man comes into one of these women's lives, and it mixes shit up, and it's a comedy. Um, but also, I guess, sort of a drama because they're all widows. Thus, Cemetery Club. But I don't know. The guy that directed me and Orphans, who directed this one, it sounds like it's gonna be really good. I'm gonna see it.
Tom?
I don't know what the dates are though. I think sometime, coming up. I think early March when they're doing that one.
I'm still waiting on your one-man
and the next
show
one-
of Sisterhood of the Traveling fucking Pants. Yeah, whatever. I'm waiting on that one.
You know what? We were talking about maybe doing drunken shows, and that sounds like one that I would do. Just get drunk, do Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants on my own in front of a bunch of people.
It sounds like a lot of broken ankles. Just people falling off the stage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like,
You said one man show. And here's the thing though, it's my own interpretation of it. The show only lasts 15 minutes. It's me trying on to put on women's pants that are all on me.
While
All
traveling.
drunk in front of
Yeah.
everybody. While traveling. I haven't done
And all you say, and the only lines you have is, yeah.